In this video we're going to look at two basic types of chord, the sixth and the minor seventh. Now I say two basic types of chord, in fact the sixth and the minor seventh are very closely related to each other, as we'll shortly see. Before we think about them in the relationship with each other, let's just look at each one in detail. Starting with a triad of C major, it's really easy to form C sixth. Okay, we know, for example, that that note is the fifth note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we also know that if we're forming some sort of seventh from C7, it's likely to be that. Sometimes it'll be that, but often it'll be that, a dominant seventh. So a C sixth looks like that. It consists of the notes C, E, G and A. You can form any sixth chord, that's a major sixth, just by playing the triad and then adding the sixth note of the scale. So let's say we were wanting to create E flat sixth, we would add the C, because it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th note of the scale. Okay, G6 has an E on it. Let's think of another one. C sharp sixth has an A sharp on it. Of course, that could be D flat sixth as well. Okay, so very simple. And like all of the chords, you can invert it. So that's our root position, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion. Now sixth chords are often cool and jazzy. You often hear them in, especially in swing music. Okay, and they can add a bit of richness and harmonic depth to more or less any sort of music. They have a kind of chilled out, relaxed kind of sound. That's the major sixth. The minor sixth is really very simple. All you do to form a minor sixth, like C6 is the chord symbol, C minor 6 is the chord symbol, is take a C minor triad and add the same note you would for the C major sixth triad. Okay, now that's not necessarily the sixth note of the minor scale. If you're a theory purist, which would normally be A flat, C minor 6 isn't that, it's that. So it's a minor chord with a major sixth added. Again, dead simple, just take a minor chord and then add the note that would be the sixth in the major, which is always 1, 2 semitones up from the fifth there. So that would be G6, G minor 6, F6, F minor 6. Lovely sound, that's beautiful. You can do that in all kinds of interesting chord progressions. Lovely, really rich, jazzy, mellow sound. Okay, a minute or two ago I was talking about the minor seventh, which is quite an interesting chord, again quite jazzy and cool. Let's take as an example A minor seventh. Now, that's A, C, E and G. That's quite similar to A dominant seventh, which would be that, but with a minor third. Yep, so just the minor triad with the added minor seventh, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 semitones from the E. Yep. Okay, we can do it in other keys. C minor seventh. Again, if it was C7, that's C7. That's C minor 7. Final example. That's E flat 7, and that's E flat minor 7. What makes minor 7 chords interesting is the way they're related to sixth chords. Look again, that's A minor 7, which is that. The notes it contains are A, C, E and G. Now have a look at C6. C, E, G and A. Exactly the same notes in the chord. Okay, in fact, if we were to take C6 from its root position and play first inversion, second inversion, third inversion, we find we're playing exactly the same chord as an A minor 7. Okay, so the two are very closely related. How do you differentiate? Well, the simple answer is you don't, and often composers and songwriters will call a chord either C6 or A minor 7, depending on the inversion, because say you're in the key of C, then that key might easily contain a C6 or an A minor 7. So usually if that shape is being played, a composer or songwriter will call it C6. But if one of the other shapes is being played, you'll usually see it referred to as A minor 7th. Okay, so C6, A minor 7th. Yeah. Again, can be a little bit confusing at times. Just remember the two chords just have the same notes: A minor 7, C6. Same goes for E flat minor 7 and G flat 6. Or we can do it in reverse. We can take F6 and see that has the same note as D minor 7. Okay. It takes a little bit of getting your head around at times. If you are not sure about how these work, then the thing to do is to look at some lookup tables for chords. You can either use the Piano World chord tool, which is here, or if you're working from my book, How to Really Play the Piano, don't forget that we have got a full set of chord lookup charts in the back. The thing to do is to work out what the different chords are, and play around with them and see how they sound. Just before we finish talking about these two chords, it's another point worth making about the minor 7th chord is that it makes, or can make, a pretty good resolving chord, a pretty good replacement for a dominant. So let's say we're in the key of C. Now the dominant in the key of C would usually be G, or you might play a G7. However, a very acceptable replacement dominant chord is D minor 7 with a G in the bass. Okay, all I've done to create that is thought about the key I'm in, gone to the second note of the scale of that key, so from C I've gone to D. I've built a minor 7th chord based on the D, and in the bass I've put the 5th note of the scale. Okay, so let's say I was in the key of F. Second note of the chord is G, so we build a G minor 7. 5th note of the chord is C, and we have a really lovely resolving chord. And that minor 7th with the dominant note in the bass can make a lovely replacement for the normal dominant chord. So as we saw in the video on dominance, the normal dominant chord can sound a bit too jolly, a bit too pat, a bit too Sunday school if you like. Okay, but if we use that, we have a much sort of richer, lusher sound. Okay, so minor 7th chord based on the second note of the scale of the key you're in. So imagine we're in E flat major. Second note of the scale is F, so it's F minor 7 with the 5th, which is B flat, in the bass, and resolving onto an E flat. Okay, as I said, best way to work all these out, minor 7ths and 6ths, is to look at chord lookup chart either at Piano World or in my book. By the way, if you're interested in buying a book, you don't have a copy, here it is. Play around, experiment, see how it sounds. Any questions, stick them in the comment thread on Jamcast post where this video is going to be posted. Here is the address in case you're seeing it somewhere else, or stick them in the YouTube thread and I will come back to you with answers.